This is Eswatini TV News at 10. I am Nasile Sitola alongside Namaklabi Sangam. The first up, here's a look at our headlining stories tonight. His Majesty King Eswatini III is back in the country after a successful working trip in the Republic of Korea and Singapore. Deputy Prime Minister Thuli Dladla says her office is committed to supporting people with albinism. Governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Philip Nisi, says the country's economic growth is dependent on public-private sector partnerships. Hello and thank you for joining us. His Majesty King Eswatini III is back in the country after concluding a successful working trip in the Republic of Korea and Singapore. The nation welcomed His Majesty joyfully when he arrived at the King Eswatini III International Airport, accompanied by Inkosikati Mage Langangaza.
The nation was beaming with pride as His Majesty the King returned in the country following a successful two-nation working trip in the Republic of Korea and Singapore. His Majesty returns home with a vast array of opportunities that will set Eswatini on a path to sustainable development. At the Africa-Korea Summit, His Majesty positioned the kingdom to be among other African nations which stand to benefit from some of Korea's over 430 billion emalangeni in development assistance towards Africa. In Singapore, His Majesty met with the President of the country and deepened bilateral relations between the two nations, with the meeting resulting in His Majesty being invited to participate in the upcoming Africa-Singapore Business Forum in 2025. When His Majesty arrived at King Eswatini III International Airport, accompanied by Inkosikati Mage Langangaza, the nation observed the national anthem in honor of His Majesty's arrival. The King was then invited to inspect the Guard of Honor, which was manned by Umbutho Eswatini Defence Force. Akosigati to His Majesty, their Royal Highnesses, Banfabankosi, the Prime Minister and various councils joined the nation in extending a rapturous welcome to His Majesty. His Majesty reflected on the successes of his working trip and said the Republic of Korea has pledged billions of emalangeni towards development initiatives in Africa.
Mengameli wabona wewe ukuthi umsebenzi uzukhona nekuthi uqhubeke ufuneka babe nekuthi babe khona labakujikijela kwesivivaneni njoba nje ku social welfare ku support mave ngama grants ba contribute bangenisa imali imali engathi 10 billion US dollars labathi cha le mali lena yokosita emave eAfrika ekutheni akhule kutemnotho ikakhulu ngoba kunale aspect noma kunalo hlangothi lweke ukuthi kunabosomabhizinisi so nangabe kumbe kungafuneka kube nale kungenteka ukhanzali sekwe ukuthi akusiko lokuhambisana nebhizinisi kesha kudzingeka le mali ukuthi kube nemali lengenako iyawusiphindze isekele kakhulu kulawo ma programs lawo bekunene baphindze bamemetela etikwaloko kwalo 10 billion kusho ukuthi bamemetela 14 billion US dollars labasi ke no 14 billion wekwe ukuthi onke ma industries la yawusuka eKorea nakafisa kuta noma angiliphi live la Africa atowenda leyo investment leyo la afisa kuyenda kube imali la kangayisebenzisa le so kwaba indlela ukuthi ba promote abosoma business babo ukuthi nabete Africa bakhanze ukuthi kunema incentives la vele akhona labonalako ukuthi ungasetshenzwa.
It is increasingly evident that His Majesty is actualizing the Nkwe call. The King has set a blistering pace which should challenge the nation so that the country achieves enviable development in a short space of time. On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting from King Eswatini III International Airport.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thuli Dladla, says her office is committed to supporting people with albinism. Therefore, ritual killings will not be tolerated in the country. She was speaking at Millennium Park in Manzini on Thursday during the commemoration of the World Albinism Day.
Annually on the 13th of June, the world commemorates the World Albinism Day. Amongst other things, this is a day that seeks to address issues faced by people with albinism, including addressing their needs. This includes hats, sunglasses, sunscreens, amongst other things. Speaking during the commemoration of this day at the Millennium Park in Manzini, the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thuli Dladla, says there is still the belief of ritual killings against people with albinism, which she says Eswatini will not tolerate such. Those are people just like everyone else and they belong to society.
These myths are endangering lives where ritualized violence against people with albinism is on the rise and continue to negatively affect their lives. Like Kayage, it is subsiding, it has subsided dramatically, particularly Manyema Venjenga President Saikazile, Seguyachamuga Foods, Singagukobi, Gubi, primitive. Yinto nje lengeke siyivumele singemaswati ngoba thina singemaswati we believe in our identity, we love ourselves, ngeke vele siyivumele into letabahlazo kithi.
Other speakers included Senator Stuki Mota of the Stuki Foundation, who also pleaded with companies and organizations to hire people with albinism because they are overqualified and have various skills needed by the corporate world.
In large print. Noma ke bathole lama gadgets. Akhona lama gadgets lawa lasetshenziswa ukuthi umfana akhona ukubona eboarding. Iyathatha lapha eboarding, ilethe lapha necingo lakhe, akhona ukufunza.
The president of Botswana, Bongani Makama, also emphasized that people with albinism, they are still stigmatized in society and that should come to an end.
Siyacela ukuthi ayimane isayinwe iphinde iratifywe i-African Protocol on Persons with Disability.
Other speakers also included Makanya of the Witch Doctors Association, who says ritual killings are something that is very far from the truth and it shouldn't be done. Those who practice such should face the law. In other countries, there is still a high belief of ritual killings against people with albinism. The Deputy Prime Minister's office has pledged that it will support them in every way possible and also conduct a workshop for teachers and schools on how to treat children with albinism. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kiani Msibi with Smuva Shongwe and Lentle Dlamini, together with Marilyn Nyiranshuti in Manzini.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Honorable Jane Simelane, on Thursday toured the Pigs Peak Hotel to ascertain the state of the hotel and curate solutions on how it can be brought back to its normal state. The Honorable Minister says investors should be pushed in order for the hotel to attain a 5-star rating.
The hotel that has over 38 years in the country has gone in the years and lost part of its value, hence the Minister's visit today to check how the current status of the hotel is and possibly craft plans on how to take it back to its original state and improve it as well. The Honorable Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Jane Mkonta, toured bedrooms, gym facilities, kitchens of the hotel and had this to say.
My assessment is that from everything that we have gathered, the information that we have gathered from the assessment, everything will be dealt with by the board because government has assigned the board to do things on behalf of government. So the board is the one that I will instruct to come up with a strategy that will address most of these things.
Malcolm Sengwayo, who is the director of board overseeing the hotel, says they will work tirelessly to improve the hotel.
Government had a challenge, what to do. So we were given, as a board, by the government to look for a credible and trusted operator.
The hotel has over 104 rooms and renovating it would take over 60 million amalangeni. For Eswatini TV, reporting is Bogutle Dlamini, Pigs Peak Hotel.
The governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Philip Nisi, says the economic growth of the country is dependent on the public-private sector partnerships. The governor was speaking when delivering the country's annual monetary policy statement.
The Central Bank of Eswatini gathered with financial stakeholders on Thursday to deliver the governor's 2023-2024 annual monetary policy statement that was delivered by the governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Philip Nisi.
In the medium term, growth is expected to be broad-based, driven by all three sectors of the economy. When we have got growth, we see unemployment eradicated, we see poverty eradicated, productivity increases, and this country will be a place to envy. Because government play their part, the private sector play their part, and all other socio-economic contributors are acknowledged. But this must be the ambition of the country. In the short to medium term, private sector credit growth is likely to remain positive, supported by continuing economic recovery locally, regionally, and globally, as well as possible interest rate easing. On the other hand, credit growth may be reduced by economic uncertainties as well as unpredictable weather patterns, which may negatively affect agricultural production. Gross official reserves improved markedly in 2023 from a relatively lower levels observed in 22. This development was attributed to the higher SACU receipts during 23-24 fiscal year. A key initiative developed by government in collaboration with the bank is the establishment of the Revenue Stabilization Fund, which is meant to serve as a buffer considering the volatility of SACU receipts. This fund currently holds 1.28 billion. The bank is continuing with its research and development of a central bank digital currency journey. The digital Lilangeni is a retail CBDC that is designed to ensure that eMaSwati continue to have access to central bank money even when transacting digitally.
The governor also informed the meeting that the country's reserves are influenced by the import rate of the country, whereas the interest rate has been maintained by the bank at 7.5% since July last year. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Suekoza with Vuminko Sinsinisa, Esulwini.
The Public Accounts Committee, PAC, says they are concerned about expired medical drugs accepted by the Ministry of Health from donors. The members of the committee were speaking in Parliament on Wednesday.
The Assistant Auditor General, Samgele Motsa, during a session with the Minister of Health, reported that the Minister of Health accepted donated medical drugs with a shelf life ranging from as little as less than 1 month to 15 months from donors.
Lamanye uthole ukuthi ana 1 month shelf life, 2 months, 3, 4, 5 leko sikhathi lokhanza kusesifisha kakhulu lokwenda bese sekubonakala ngazuthi hleze lona losuka asidonatela kusuke kungasiko ukuthi vele uyasisita kulokunye kusuke sekuyindlela yokuthi sowulahlela lakithi kubese ke nathi sekutawuphinza kusifake etindlekweni ngekuthi ufuna bese siphinde sesiyakudestroya thina sekuphinze sekubadi indleko letingetekile.
The Honourable Committee then questioned the Minister of Health on the matter.
Sesibuka kahle ngase dumping site nasukuba and phindze futhi kutawuphindze kucoste thina sesiyokushisa sesenda konke lokho. Ngiyanaka nje ukuthi there is a local supplier naye lokho wasiniketa lokho. Seva ukuthi masinyane nako seku expire. Yini ngathi kusuke niyakuthatha nikureceive nje ukuthi naye nakathengisi ngazi kusuke sekasiniketela lokuthi awangifuni ngilala ngoma cost mina namayo kuhamba kuyoshisa le angifake la khulumende kuthi awungena la khulumende
kuya kwendeke kwanza ukuthi siya dispatcher CMS kuya leti ibhedlela naleti ibhedlela awe away lokuthi kukhona lenye medication le expire kuseyiphumile medical stores leyo siye bese senda kanjani
abase basibukele la kulama donors nabo babe strong lokuthi nangabe into selelo 3 months expire singayimukeli nje all.
Acting Central Medical Stores Director Tembikama furnished the Honourable Committee with responses.
Siyakhulumisana ke nyalo ne-office le-Temvelo i-Eswatini Environment Authority ngibola basi-advise ukuthi sibone ukuthi sithi sebenza kanjani. Lokho umgcoka ke che ukuthi sicontrola kanjani lama SOPs ukuthi vele sihambela kuwo ngale ndlela lasho ngakhona ukuthi ama drugs ethu lesiwathathako akangabi less than 18 months nakafika kithi CMS khona sidokhona ukuthi nathi siwahambise ngesikhathi.
The Acting Minister of Health, PS, informed the committee that the Minister of Health is being assisted by private sector partners in building an incinerator to properly dispose expired medical drugs. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Suekoza, Parliament.
And now let's have a look at our financial indicators.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Moving on to sports, Sihlangu Semnegati, newly appointed coach Sifiso Ntibane, says he will work tirelessly together with his technical bench and represent well the Kingdom of Eswatini at the 2024 COSAFA tournament to be held in Port Elizabeth in the Republic of South Africa from the 26th of this month to the 7th of July. Ntibane went on to announce the 24 players to begin preparations this Friday at the Technical Center in Lobamba.
I hate to be a failure. We are going to war. Once you are called a national team, it means you are representing the flag. So we are going all out. Acela kubita luhla lwebadlali labangemashumi lamabili nakune labatawungena enkanjini kusasa. Sina Mabilisa Sposetu Mbabane Swallows, Newman Piliswa Mbabane Swallows, Twala kwakhe Mbabane Swallows, Dlamini Neliswa Mbabane Swallows, Manyisa Leon Mbabane Swallows, Shabalala Sizolwethu Mbabane Swallows, Gadlela Ayanda Mbabane Swallows, Dlamini Kolane Green Mamba FC, Manana Mkolisi Green Mamba, Silenge Nkosengiphile Green Mamba, Dlamini Innocent Green Mamba, Gama Xolan Green Mamba, Shonga Nkosengiphile Nsingizini Hotspurs, Dlamini Sibusiso Nsingizini Hotspurs, Mavuso Thubelihle Nsingizini Hotspurs, Dlamini Sibonga Inkosi Nsingizini Hotspurs, Simelane Sambulo Nsingizini Hotspurs, Masangane Simanga Royal Leopards, Makakula Junior, Royal Leopards, Dlamini Bongiswa, Young Buffaloes, Matsebula Owa, Young Buffaloes, Simelane Wandile, Moneni Pirates, Makakula Siyabonga, Ezulwini United, Gamete Gift, Madlenya FC.
That's all for now. Before I go, here's a reminder of our headlining stories. His Majesty King Mswati III is back in the country after a successful working trip in the Republic of Korea and Singapore. Deputy Prime Minister Thuli Dladla says her office is committed to supporting people with albinism. Governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Philip Nisi, says the country's economic growth is dependent on public-private sector partnerships. And I'll leave you now with the weather update from myself and the team. Many thanks for your company. Take care.
Using an ATM is a simple process. You simply